Hello. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're having a wonderful morning. And I hope you're having the best day if you're watching this in the morning or even in the evening. Today, I want to talk about something really personal. I mean, you can already tell from the title, it's really dear to my heart. It's something that I've had in my spirit for a while to talk about, but I didn't really know exactly how to get started or what to say. Right now, unlike my normal podcast, I usually have an outline of what I'm going to say. But because of how this conversation is going to go, I'm just going to be gisting you about the mistakes I made when I started my business. You might not know this about me, but I started doing business a long time ago. I think I was like 15 when I actually started doing business. But I'll just walk you through my business journey and where I am today with my current company and what it's all about. So I think if I really think back, I actually started my business in 2005. Yes, I was 5 years old. I remember I was given some beads, some little cute beads with those little elastic bands that you connect them into to make bracelets. And I don't know at that age why I thought that after making these bracelets, like the first thing that came to my mind was to sell it. So what I did was I took some nails and I hammered it into the front of the house, which we were living basically in like the trenches area. So there was no fence. It was just a shared compound and everybody was living there. So I hammered it into the wall of my parents' house and I hung my bracelets that I made and I was selling them for 5 naira. I don't remember how many customers I had. I don't think there were many, but I think that that's the earliest I can actually recollect that I started doing business. And ever since I was a child, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I didn't know who I was going to be. Every time people ask me, okay, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because that's the standard question you ask a kid, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? Every week you ask me, it will change. Like this week I want to be an astronaut, next week I want to be a doctor, next week I want to be a lawyer, next week I want to be something else, because I had a mind that was curious about every single thing that was out there. I was just curious about the world at large, and I have always been the type of person that cares about, aspects of things that I didn't understand, like various things I didn't understand. So I always wanted to learn about everything as much as I could. Till now, I'm still fascinated by space. I'm still interested in law. I watch a lot of documentaries and legal series. I love watching medical series. I love hearing about medical things, So I still have those little interests, but I never actually wanted to become those things. I never actually knew what I wanted to become. Fast forward to when I was in secondary school. Let's say in I think that was in SS1, the school started doing this thing where they ask you, what do you want to study in university, so that they place you in the right classes and you take the actual classes that are good for what you want to study in school. And I did not know what I wanted to study in university. I didn't even know what I wanted to be. My friend at the time, Sharon, she was sitting with me on the table, and her dad was an architect. May his soul rest in peace. And she always knew she wanted to be an architect. But she was sitting right beside me, and she was filling out the form, and I said, Kai, I don't know what I want to be. And she said, well, she's right, she's putting down architecture. So I asked her, okay, explain to me architecture. And she explained it's basically designing buildings and supervising and watching it get built. Like she just sees her dad do it and she really loves it. And at the time, I actually really enjoy technical drawing. So, and I loved technical drawing and I loved geography. So I knew that that would be something that I would really like. I also really liked physics. So I was like, this is something that I would really like to study. So I put down architecture. And from that day, I was on the path to study architecture. Fast forward to university, I'm in Poland. I'm studying architecture and urban planning. I graduate with a 4.5 GPA. And in Poland, that's the first class. And they give you the title. In Poland, they will give you a title as engineer architect, not just architect, for that specific school and that course. I don't know about other schools in Poland. So they gave me engineer architect. I finished school and I came back to Nigeria. But before I came back to Nigeria, throughout when I was in the university, I was also doing other things. So I was an influencer at a point. I was a content creator. I was doing a lot of makeup content. I was doing a lot of cooking. I used to cook and sell food. And I used to babysit. I used to work in restaurants as a dishwasher, and sometimes I used to flip some burgers. So I actually was involved in a lot of things because I just wanted to hustle. I really wanted the soft life, like the luxury life, but I couldn't afford it. So I needed to make as much money as I could. That's why I was doing a lot of things in school. And those things accumulated to making me who I am today, which is somebody that has a lot of unnecessary skills, but I wouldn't call them necessary because I have knowledge of different types of businesses and they help me in what I actually do right now. So I said I started business when I was at the age of 15, right? Before I got to university, I developed a massive interest in makeup. Actually, because I have a scar on my eyebrow, I think it's this eyebrow, and I started by trying to fill in the scar with an eye pencil, like an eyebrow pencil that I saw that my mom used to use. So I was like, you know what, let me try and use this eyebrow pencil and see if it will work for me. And trying to draw it and not getting it right, and the perfectionism in me. My dad was also an artist, a creative, a musician. My mom was also a musician. So there's the creative in me, and the perfectionist in me didn't like how the eyebrows were coming out, right? So I said, you know what, I'm going to redo and keep doing it until I get the eyebrows correctly. So I knew how to draw a perfect brow at the age of 15, 14. I don't even remember, but around that age, right? And from there, I started learning more about makeup because it went from drawing the eyebrow to concealing the eyebrow to trying to blend the concealer to the rest of my face and so on and so forth. So that's when I actually started doing makeup for my friends, my family, and making money off of it. So technically, that's when I actually started doing business. So while I was still in school in Poland, I was also doing this makeup business. And it was actually the place I was making the most money because once I established Gold Makeup Studios, I was actually getting a lot of clients. You know, I put myself on the Google my business page. So I was like literally the only black makeup artist in the entire Poland at the time. So I was getting a lot of customers because black people and African people were coming into Poland a lot and they were looking for makeup artists. So it was a journey because I had clients, I had to travel to see clients, and I was doing a lot of work as a makeup artist and a content creator, a makeup content creator at the time. I was also creating content about other things like social justice and the rest, but makeup content was primarily like my main thing that I really enjoyed doing. Even though I never went viral for makeup content, I went viral for fashion content and I went viral for social justice talk, but I never really got viral for makeup content. But I really enjoyed it, and I think people really enjoyed watching me do my makeup. Fast forward to today, I got back to Nigeria in 2021, and I just observed that there were a lot of businesses out here and that didn't understand how to establish themselves online. And given the fact that I spent most of my time online as an influencer and a content creator, I felt like this is something I can easily help these people do. And bear in mind that every time I started a new business endeavor, like my cooking business or whatever, I would always create a social media page and set it up and do the graphics. So I had all these little skills that I felt like I could use for something. Before coming back to Nigeria, my friend was in the Big Brother house, so I actually ended up being one of her media team members, and I got the connections and the expertise with PR and media and marketing, and that's how I kind of merged my knowledge of that and my need or my desire to help these businesses in Nigeria improve their businesses. And then I started doing social media management. So the first thing that came to mind was Kijagold management, because at the time I used to call myself Kijagold, right? So it was very easy, Kijagold management, and I started. At the time I was employed, but on the side I was doing Kijagold management. I think I had like 2 clients, just a few people who believed in me, and it just kept growing from there till where we are now today. Right now, we've worked with over 80 clients across the globe, UK, the Bahamas, Zimbabwe, the US, Nigeria, just all over the place, especially those key places. And we've helped many brands set up, we've done graphics, and we have made a lot of mistakes. And this podcast, this episode is me just telling you about the mistakes that I made when I started business at the age of 21. So first things first, when I started business, I didn't have an understanding of business. I didn't actually understand how businesses are run behind the scenes. All I had was a desire and a drive. And if I had known what I know now, I would have taken the time to learn a bit about business and structuring businesses and operations before I actually started the business. I jumped straight into it and it grew, and I was just trying to figure out what to do as I was going, which is typically how a lot of big businesses are started. However, with the amount of resources that are available today, I think the best thing would have been for me to try and learn what I could to just make life a little bit easier. And I think by the time that we got to where we are today, maybe we wouldn't have created situations that we later ended up in at the end of the day, right? So that's the first mistake I made. If you're somebody who is starting a business or you want to go into the type of business that I do, I would suggest that you take the time that you can to learn everything you can learn about business and operations what it means to actually have a business, what it means to actually run a business, how these businesses are structured, how to structure your businesses, how other businesses are structuring, what mistakes they are making that you can, improve on when you start your business. These are things that you need to learn, because I learned it later down the line. The second mistake I made when I started my business was I did not find a mentor who could actually cover me and teach me what I needed to know. I was very stubborn, and I was very just in my own world. I felt like I could just do what I wanted to do for myself without the help of anybody. Now that I know what I know today, I know that that was a very big mistake, and that was a very big lie that I told myself. I should have had a mentor. I should have had somebody. I should have submitted myself under somebody who could teach me business, who could teach me some principles that would help me in business. And I didn't do that. So if you're somebody that wants to start a business, I urge you, please find you somebody who can actually teach you. And I hear this question a lot about, how do I get a mentor? You don't get a mentor by approaching somebody and asking them to be your mentor. You get a mentor by offering them your services, offering them something, and being there to help them with something and showing up. And when you show up for a while, then they can become your mentor. You don't just meet somebody for the first time and ask them to be your mentor, and then you feel rejected and feel discouraged, right? If you see somebody that you admire as well, that you want to be your mentor, check if they have resources, books, videos that you can watch, follow them on socials, engage in their posts, learn what they're actually teaching the public, so that they don't have to repeatedly tell you something that they've already taught the public. And then you can actually be mentored by them passively, know what they are about, know whether you actually connect with them before you now get close to them and actually ask them to be your mentor eventually, if possible. Or if everything just goes well, they could be the one that asks you to be mentored by them. The third mistake I made when I started my business was I had zero sales strategy. I didn't even understand the word sales or what it was about. Like, looking back, I wish from the jump I had an initial sales plan and a sales strategy. Even though it doesn't execute according to plan, I never had one. I was just working with people that showed up and I helped them, but I never actually sat down to think, what is the way I'm actually going to generate revenue? What's the way I'm actually going to grow my business and make sure that inflow is stable every month and is actually increasing, and we're actually making profit and not just generating revenue. So sales is key. And I think that if you are trying to start a business, you're thinking about starting a business, I think that is something you should probably look into. Take courses and find out where you can learn. I mean, YouTube is a free school. Right now, I've been learning a lot about sales, and a lot that I can learn about sales and applying for my business as well as my clients, because now I have clients that I need to apply it for. So it's much more difficult now learning it on the job and making mistakes than if you had understood some principles and set some things in motion. Then things would have been easier for you down the line. I know I'm just going on and on, but I hope you're actually learning something, because there's just a lot that has been in my spirit for a while, and I just felt like I needed to share. Okay, so the fourth mistake I made when I started my business was the desire to scale up fast. I know everybody wants to grow, everybody wants to blow, everybody wants to succeed as fast as possible, because you feel like people are succeeding fast. It looks like it's happening overnight. At the time, right? I mean, social media can deceive you to think that you could just easily do ABC and then you just blow. Okay, I started a business, I have a great business idea, I launched my app, and that's it. I'm successful. A lot of these people who go into this businesses that get these quick successes actually had a strategy and a plan beforehand, and they don't share this kind of information with the public. These are things that they do that eventually helps them to push their business in the direction that they actually want it to go, because now they already have a strategy, and they have a strategy for the strategy. They have a plan for plan A, they have a plan B for plan C, they have a plan C for plan D. There's always a plan for everything, and if you don't have those plans before you actually start the business, what will happen is that you end up in a situation where you are intensely burnt out and mentally drained and confused and stressed and on the verge of giving up, because you don't know what to do, right? You just don't know if you made a mistake. You just don't know if you did the right thing. So those are things that you have to really think about before you go into running your business, right? The fifth mistake that I believe I made when I started my business was I didn't understand automations, and I didn't understand how to set up things that would reduce the amount of manpower that I needed and allow us to actually generate as much revenue as possible. If I knew what I know now, there's a lot of things that I would have not done, like just a lot, especially as it pertains to automations, right? Hiring people for roles that have their apps that can do it. There are systems, there's AI. I mean, there's AI now. I don't know if I understood anything about AI when I started. I mean, there should have been AI, but I don't think I really understood it. If I knew now what I knew then, I would have definitely not hired some specific roles. I would have not wasted money on some certain things. I would have waited and focused on setting up the automations instead, just to make work easier, and kept the team as lean as possible so we can actually make profit. This mistake I'm saying is still one of the situations that we're in as a company, where we scaled up a little too fast and we hired people we didn't need. We didn't know, but now we know we didn't need, and now we have money to pay that we don't have money to pay. So you don't want to get into this situation where you just have accumulated debt and you don't have the resources to resolve that, because to pay the debt you need to make money, and you still need to pay the people who are helping you make this money. So that's just a mess of its own that we're trying to resolve right now, and I wish I did things completely differently from the jump. Okay, the next mistake I made when I started my business was I didn't focus as much as possible on building my own personal brand. I was so focused on building the business that I didn't realize that clients hire you for you, not your business, right? And I realized that a lot of clients, when I hop on a call with them, or a sales call or a discovery call with them, they are more inclined to purchasing the service from me because they hear me speak and they know that I know what I'm saying. But I didn't understand that if I was pushing my personal brand as well and promoting my personal brand and selling the business, I would have also had a very solid identity. I would have had a more trustworthy persona on the internet that would have helped. I mean, I lost my account. I did lose my Instagram account last year, as well as the business account. So I basically had to start Instagram all over again. I had about 8,000 followers on my Instagram at the time. And then my business pages were just like sitting there. I would have, actually focused on building my own personal brand, but I didn't. And when I created my new page, to be honest, I was actually quite discouraged, and I was quite weak. I just didn't have the energy or the mind for it at the time, because losing your Instagram that you've had for years can be quite disheartening. And I feel like Instagram and Meta, you guys need to do better, because this is hurting people's mental health, to be very honest with you. I lost my business page as well, so I kind of had to start that again. It really hurt. But I just wish I was building a personal brand seriously at the time. The next mistake I think I also made when I started my business was not surrendering my business to God and allowing God to direct my steps. And even while running the business, I wasn't really surrendering the business to God. I was just running because I had my own destination. I had what I wanted to achieve from the business, and I was so locked in on doing that. So if it's you and you want to start a business, or you're running a business, please listen to what God has to say about the business. There's only one being on the entire planet, in the universe, that understands better about every single thing that is happening here than any other human being, and that is God. And I think if we don't ask the Creator for guidance, we are just basically setting ourselves up for failure. So it's very important that you reflect on that and make sure that no matter what it is that you're doing in the business, God is completely involved from start to finish. It's not always easy, because there are times that you would not realize that you've taken the control again and you've let go of surrendering. But every time you realize that, you need to go deeper into surrendering. You need to be more intentional about surrendering. This is something I'm still actively working on, and I think that if you do that, your life and your business will be a lot better. And I would say the final mistake that I believe I made in my business was becoming too attached to the people who were helping me run the business. I'm a very sentimental person. I get, attached to people, and I love spending time with people, especially when it's my vision and I explain the vision to people when they get the vision and we're running it together. The mistake I made was now not just being too, caught up in that relationship, that I was, sad and almost really taken aback when a lot of people had to leave for various reasons, like moving on with their life. And when the business even started going into distress, when people kept resigning, I just kept feeling more bad and kept having a lot of mental breakdowns and questioning myself, questioning my identity, questioning everything all over again. And I think that there's nothing wrong with caring for your business, but having having the correct boundaries about the business is very, very important. Knowing that people will come and go, and it is okay and it is normal, right? Because I had come and left. I had gone and left many businesses, but I didn't think that I understood how it felt as a business owner. So these are basically the mistakes that I made, and I don't know if you're listening right now and you have a business you're running, or you have a business idea you want to start. I hope that what I've shared can help you and shed some light on some things that you can probably do better than I did, and just improve on your business. Oh, and one more bonus thing: improve on the skill set that made you start the business, or the skill set that will help you build your business. Very important. Please make sure you learn as much as possible as you need to learn, like be it digital marketing, or even if you don't know anything about app development, learn what you can so you actually know your business. You know more about the skills. People are paying you for your skills. They're paying you because you know stuff, and you're able to teach your staff what they need to know about how to run the business. Without further ado, that will be the end of this video, and I hope that you actually learned something. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Thank you.